Welcome to Bless Your Heart, and I'm Heather.
And I'm Carlyle. And before we get started, a quick disclaimer. This episode is for entertainment purposes only. All the stories that we share are our experiences or our opinions. So if you take it too seriously, well, then bless your heart. Last week, we discussed bloodlines, blood contracts, and how power stays in the same hands from generation to generation.
And on today's episode, we're going to question, are the systems that are meant to keep us healthy, like medicine, food, and even rehab, are they actually meant to keep us trapped?
And, so we'll segue right on into the bless your heart moment this week. Since we're talking about some heavy subjects tonight, and one of them is going to be some scams that are going on in the world, I thought I would talk about my scam experience this week. I'm trying to buy a vlog camera so that we can do our podcast. I could do travel stuff. And this guy was trying to scam me. He went so far as to fake send me FedEx pictures. Like all I wanted to see was the camera going into the box at the FedEx and the woman saying the date. It wasn't that hard. He couldn't do it. And he went on and on. And I was like, ain't happening. So to you who tried to scam me out there for a camera, shame on you.
Shame. I would have to say my blessed of the heart of the week is you, Carlyle, for last night where we didn't save the footage, but it's okay. But it would have been really good footage if we did get it. We were going over to downtown to eat dinner and the sunset. God, it was so nice. And we were going over the Ravenel, but it's okay. And plus all the good food we had, but we'll make it up. We'll get some good footage tonight.
We're learning. I was like, no, so heartbroken. But so after our bless your heart moment, we will just go ahead and jump into tonight's topics. And first off, we are going to start with how Big Pharma is keeping us sick. Is the healthcare system about healing us or keeping us as lifetime customers? Here's some quick stats about the healthcare industry and pharma that will blow your mind. There's $650 billion in the U.S. spent on prescription drugs each year. 66% of Americans take at least one prescription drug. 25% of Americans take 4+ prescription drugs. And medical error is the number 3 cause of death in the U.S., which should be terrifying to you all. So you should really be worried about your health. Yeah. We both probably 2020 and after have started on holistic journeys. Mine more so started after I had done major damage to my body with alcohol, and Heather's just kind of mysteriously an onset. So why don't you share your story and how you got on the holistic health track?
Yeah, so I guess I had the flu, or it was the flu, or the other word, plus possibly, food allergy. What happened was basically I was down, I was sick, I thought it was the flu. Usually I can get over the flu in 2 days, 3 tops, I'm back to normal. Well, we had a Key West trip planned at the end of that same week. And so we were hosting a couple couples, and I was going to go. I was determined. I'm starting to feel better by Wednesday. I was so dehydrated, and I did not, I was drinking water, but what I learned is water is not going to do it by itself. And that was probably the biggest moment that I didn't realize. But so we went to Key West, and I guess because flying gets you super dehydrated, which is something that, I kind of really had to learn on the hard way. Also, being in the sun constantly on top of that. So it didn't matter how much water I drank, how much Gatorade I had. I even tried the liquid IVs and nothing was doing it. So in Key West, they have this, where nurses will come and actually give you an IV, and, usually because you're hungover, right?
Right.
Well, I wasn't hungover. I hadn't even had a drink, and I just needed to get hydrated super quickly. So the lady came in and gave me a bag, and I sucked it up so quick that it even concerned her. And she said, she used to be a nurse. She had moved down from up north to Key West. And so she said, I highly suggest that you take another bag. And thank gosh I did. So I started finally feeling better, took it easy the rest of the day. So all of a sudden I noticed that my hips, I couldn't walk. It was getting tough. It was getting harder and harder to walk. And it was just really tight. And I would stretch and I just couldn't figure it out. And I had other things going on, like using the bathrooms, but we won't talk about all that. But basically continuing to stay dehydrated, the signs of being dehydrated. Soon as we landed back in Charleston, I couldn't even walk off that plane. It hurt so bad. So basically what was going on, is my muscles were starting to deteriorate because they had been dehydrated for at least almost 7 days at this point. Didn't know all this, right? First time learning all this is I hardly ever go to the doctor because I'm hardly ever sick. And so drove myself to the doctor. They said, "We can't help you. Do you need us to call an ambulance for you?" And that's when I'm like, whoa, this is getting kind of serious. So went to the hospital and they basically, were trying to figure out what's wrong with me, gave me all these IVs. The doctors, they put me in ICU that night. The doctors couldn't figure it out. So they basically gave me the strongest antibiotic that they had. And they said, whatever you have, whether it was from an oyster, like they were thinking I had an oyster, they thought I partied too hard in Key West. And I was like, none of that. Now, could have been oysters, could have been scallops that I had that night like a week ago when all this started. So I have learned that I have grown into an allergy for scallops,
Yeah.
which is something I never knew. You grow into allergies the older you get,
Yeah.
whether it's because what they put in our food or, what other reasons it could be. You can develop that. So I used to love scallops too. So anyway, so I was in the hospital for 4 days, and they didn't really wanna let me go, but I demanded to leave. I went and started walking, my dad came and helped me out when my husband had to go to work, and so, basically, I came back here, and the doctor they wouldn't even let me out of the hospital without having a doctor. So, I used to just go to, like, what, doctor care or something?
Yeah.
And that was something I learned in the hospital. They would not let me leave unless I had an appointment with another primary doctor or something like that. And so I asked my nurse because I had the best nurses at the hospital here in Mount Pleasant, East Cooper Hospital. It was fantastic. The people that work there are fantastic. It was clean. And I can't really say anything bad about it. If I had to be stuck in a hospital, I would pick that one. So I asked my nurse, like, who's your, primary doctor? And so she has a PA or whatever, they're
Yeah.
basically that's what's happening now. There's not as many doctors, there's more PAs now. So I finally called her and scheduled call, and I was gonna be seeing the next couple of days. Well, she tells me, "Holy cow, like, you could have died. If you didn't go to the hospital when you did, you could have died because your body was literally starting to shut down, and I didn't even realize it. Because I didn't know being that dehydrated that long or that I was even really that dehydrated because it was the first time it ever really had happened to me. So, it definitely scared me. My hair started to fall out, which is kind of when I started looking into holistic. I actually asked you, Carlisle, and your sister-in-law, Brittany, like, who are you guys starting to use? And they helped me find somebody here in Charleston, actually. And I call her Dr. Stephanie Z because I can't ever pronounce her last name. But Lyman Lotus, shout out. She's fantastic. And she basically put me on this paleo diet, which is nothing but like fresh vegetables, fruits, meat. She suggested no pork. Pork is very inflammatory and no caffeine because actually caffeine actually helps you not sleep as good that night. No alcohol, of course, and we all know there's poison in alcohol. That's why they call them spirits, right? Like vodka is a spirit because spirits will get into you if you drink too much and kind of take over your body. And they still do not drink water in plastic bottles. Now, I kind of started already researching that stuff because we know who all owns like the plastic in the world. And so when it sits in the sun, the water starts, the plastic, melts with the water. And so when you drink that, it's toxins. So my holistic daughter was basically telling me that some people's bodies struggle to release the toxins. And
Yeah.
that's what was going on with me. She said, you didn't just get sick, Heather. It has been building. And I had been super stressed with work, with life and everything that was going on, like probably the stress that most stressed I've ever been. And I was so stressed for so long that I think I made myself sick on top of, getting some things like the scallops and possibly gator flu and all that.
Those were just like the straw that broke the camel's back.
Exactly. So basically, she put me on this healthy diet, and my hair stopped falling out. I forgot I had this like weird skin, and it could be just from me getting older too. Like your body starts to change as a female when I'm almost 40. So my skin was like super dry, like I was having rashes and stuff. That started to heal up. What else did she say? It was fresh fruits, vegetables, lean meat. Oh, no dairy. And that's something that well on your journey,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So tell me about that.
Okay. Well, no, obviously, I have been a bad girl and been eating like once or twice a week for the past several months. So I cannot get unstopped up. But for the longest time, I would get sinus infection after sinus infection after sinus infection. And no one could ever figure out what it was. Like went to an ENT, nothing. Went to an allergist, nothing. My regular doctor, nothing. Did a sleep apnea test, nothing. I started seeing a holistic practitioner, Sarah Rhodes, at Centered Wellness in Greenville, South Carolina, and she is like amazing. She got into the field because herself, she had an autoimmune disorder that the doctors couldn't figure out. So she was like, I'm going to figure out how to heal myself. And she is a wealth of knowledge. So if you're in Greenville, go see Sarah Rhodes at Centered Wellness. But I started seeing her probably 2021. So I've been going there
Oh wow.
since my journey has been since 2021. So after I got sober in 2019, I had really messed up my pancreas. I had pancreatitis. My liver levels were obviously really messed up. And then from the alcoholism stage, I was, getting sick a lot and throwing up. So I had really messed up my esophagus and my gut lining. So I had a whole lot of issues. So I got turned on to Sarah Rhodes, and the first thing that she told me was not even related to any of that. She was like, you need to stop eating dairy and stop eating wheat immediately.
Oh, wheat, yes. Wheat is very bad. Bread is so bad for us. I forgot that.
So, yeah. It's like she was like, no dairy except for butter because butter has like a very low lactose level because of the way it's churned. And then no wheat except for you can eat sourdough, but like legit
Like
sourdough
like
organic. No, I mean, you can get like the US,
you
like
just
homemade. Like you
yeah.
can't go to the store. A lot of stores will sell sourdough over in the bakery, but they used all of the folic acid in their wheat. All of their stuff is treated.
Yeah.
So it's very treated. So I learned that I had to get off of that. So over the past few years, we've worked on healing my pancreas, healing my gut, healing my sinus issues, which that's on me when I'm a bad. So I know what the answer is to pretty much all
No
of my
more
problems.
dairy.
No more dairy, no more wheat. When I do Dr. Hyman's 10-day detox, which is no wheat, no dairy, no processed food, no beans, no sugar, it's basically very few fruits like berries and apples, mostly meat and green veggies for the whole week. But when I do that, I'll drop like 10 pounds of inflammation like that. And then
It's crazy how much inflammation.
it's so crazy. But so like through all of that, then I found out like my hormones were messed up. And then as a female, we get
Yes, me too. Yep. Sorry. Go ahead.
we get the bad end of the stick on that, where like women stop producing human growth hormone at 40 or in their 30s.
Yeah.
Men don't stop producing it until they're 50. So like right now I'm trying out a human growth hormone peptide just to see if I can like completely heal my gut lining and get rid of all of the inflammation. So starting next week, I'm going to go back to no wheat, no dairy and be a good girl again. But you working in the grocery business, I'm so interested because it is really hard to buy organic. Number one, it's so expensive to eat healthy. It is tremendously expensive to eat healthy. But even the people who are at the poorest levels that have EBT cards with money from the government, even that money is controlled. Like they can't buy organic produce. I don't think they can they buy produce with their EBT?
I need to check on that. I want to say no, but there may be certain things you can. Now, I don't
Definitely
know
not
about
organic.
Now I do know without naming without naming brands and companies that almost everything that you can buy on EBT is bad for you, and it is done on purpose. It was all planned and a long time ago when they came out with the EBT, and they had already got their buddies because we already talked about the other episode about how the elites or bloodlines or whatever you want to call them, cabal, they all own all of these big corporations. I mean, they're all buddies. It's all connected somehow. So when they planned the EBT, they got with certain companies and said, if you make this or, make this product and we'll put it on the EBT. And the amount of stuff that they put in our food. I mean, if you if you can't pronounce the ingredients on the label, do not get it. I mean, if the first ingredient is modified starch, cornstarch, do not. I mean, so the products that you buy on EBT are meant to keep you sick. A lot of times you end up having diabetes. And if you notice people that are on EBT, a lot of them are inflamed, you know, a little, I hate to say it, but overweight. They eat the fast food because it's cheap, because they're struggling. And it's a shame that just because you only make so much money that you can't afford healthy
But
food,
you can't decide
or you
that. You
can't.
can't even decide if you want to buy healthy food, like because the money that you're giving, you don't even get to decide what you do with that. That money is
Right,
controlled.
right. But it's just not fair that we can't offer that to them. So,
Okay, but can you buy alcohol with an EBT?
no,
Okay, well,
no, you
thank the
can't.
Lord for that. I'm being fucking very upset.
No, you can't. But it is kind of interesting how it's all entwined. And then you've got Big Pharma that has the medicines that cure the diabetes.
But they
So
don't
it just
cure it.
goes and exactly,
Treat it.
they never cure it. They just treat it.
Well, I mean, it's a whole cycle, but it's like the one time, the fact that I will never stop thinking about, and I tell this when people are like, the system isn't corrupt, like people can make change, like we can do it. You can't, because it starts with food at the seed. And the seed is controlled for farmers. Farmers cannot get crop insurance, and they have to have crop insurance because you never know what kind of year you're going to have. Like you cannot keep going without crop insurance, right? Like,
Yeah.
so you have to have crop insurance. And then in order to get the crop insurance, you have to plant a specific seed that is approved, and you have to use specific pesticides that are approved, and you have to use those or else you don't get the funding. So it's like even these farmers that want to make a change and they want to help us be healthy, they're not even in control of the genetics of the seed that they're giving us. So everything
Yeah.
is modified by these big companies,
Yeah.
like starts with an M.
Yeah.
Very bad people.
Mhm.
Tis, tis on you,
Mhm.
bad people. So it's like the food makes us sick. The pills actually keep us sick.
They never cure you.
So it's like, and then when you fall all the way down, like I did, you end up in the rehab system, which I mean is more broken than you can ever imagine. I mean, there's very wonderful people out there trying to help people get sober, but there's a lot of scams. There's a lot of taking advantage of. It's a for profit industry. So these companies are going out and buying these mom and pop rehabs. They're making them corporate. And the bottom line is they need to make money. So I thought I would take a second to kind of go into my journey,
Yeah.
and what I've been through.
Yeah. I think it's a good time to share it.
Yes. So in 2019, it was like at rock bottom. I was physically, mentally addicted to alcohol. I had like no idea how I had gotten there, but I had. So this is like a cautionary tale of like party girl who had just like really spiraled out of control with a series of bad events. So like addiction, it takes anybody, it takes everybody. It only takes one time of doing something for people to get really sick. And, it's like something as simple as like breaking your leg. The amount of people that I was with in treatment that were there because they took pain pills because they broke their leg, and they end up on like meth and heroin and robbing people and breaking into places. And you're like, what?
But how did you go? Like, how did you spiral so bad? It happens all the time, especially a lot of veterans,
I felt very out of control of my own life. I felt like I was a slave to alcohol. I felt like I had no choice but to drink. Like when my pancreas was failing, which I at least probably had 2 or 3 pancreatic attacks in the year that I was working on yachts. One of them, I was on an offshore program, 30 minutes like shore, and I had to be flown back on a small plane, and they thought it was food poisoning. But now adding down,
like you throw up, or
you throw up like nonstop. You can't keep anything down. It's very dangerous to your body. Talking about getting dehydrated.
yeah, like it's
Because your pancreas is swollen. It's pushing out all of your other organs. It's very painful. Like it apparently it's worse than child labor.
Really?
Obviously wouldn't know that. But so I got really sick in 2019. My yachting career or start of yachting career ended very abruptly after 1 year. And so I decided because it's very hard to get away from alcohol. Alcohol is everywhere. It's on your grocery shelf. It's at a concert. It's at the movie theaters. It's at most parks have food trucks with alcohol now. You can't go anywhere without alcohol. So I figured the best fix for me would be a 28-day rehab program, which I am forever grateful for. I would highly recommend anyone struggling with any kind of addiction, but especially alcohol, just to get like 30-day break from being able to see it. I would recommend rehab a million times over. But with that being said, there's a caveat. You have to be careful where you go.
Yeah.
They're reporting now that 10% of rehabs in California are scams where they're just taking people's money, not giving them treatments. There are brokering programs going on where they will go to Native American communities. They will promise them rehab treatment. They will sell them off to the rehab and insurance company to collect the money. And they won't ever get these people who are looking for treatment. And then the worst part is there are speculation that some of these places are giving these people drugs and alcohol to keep them there so that they can keep collecting.
To keep them in business,
To
right?
keep them in business. So these people are going to get help and then they just get trapped in this awful system. But it's like my rehab was a beautiful, wonderful place. Shortly before I got there, it was bought out by a corporation and I could tell
That was shame.
it was all about money. It was wild. They were keeping, this is all my opinion. This is all speculation based on my experience in treatment. From the time that I walked through that door to the time I got out, I heard many story about people being trapped in a rehab for 2 weeks to 4 weeks longer than they needed so that the rehab could collect from the insurance. So where I was, you could not talk to your family. You could write them letters, but you can't talk on the phone. So really the rehab is in control of telling your family your progress. So they can't even hear in your voice how you're doing. So they were lying.
Saying that
People were not well.
So they needed to stay there longer, right?
Yeah. So they would keep people. I think there were some people there for like 3 months. Like there was this one old lady who I think the family like trapped her there. She was way up in her 70s and she could not, they wouldn't leave. And everyone's like, oh yeah, she's been here for forever. But then it goes even deeper because afterwards there's halfway houses, which I don't think halfway houses are bad places. Sober living is fine if you need to get away from your situation.
Yeah.
But then they try to sell all these families on Johnny isn't progressing and he really needs to go to sober living. Well, that's a whole year that they get to collect from the insurance company on you. For me, I was paying cash, so it was a little different. And I am so thankful I was paying cash. But even to my dad, they tried to convince him that I needed to go to sober living for a year, like pay out pocket, basically.
The insurance companies are definitely involved, just like with the EBTs and the food corporations. Like they plan it together to keep each other running.
And it's it really breaks my heart because I talked to a lot of people about going to rehab. I have helped several people find treatment programs to get into one, but I have to warn them that not all treatment programs are created equal. That you have to be careful when you're in there. You have to prepare your parents that, it's a money game as much as it is a healing game. And you have to decide when you go into rehab what you want to get out of it. Like I decided I didn't care what the treatment was, how it went. I was going to spend this 28 days to dig deep inside myself and figure out how I can get control of my life. Because I wanted my life to be the same just without alcohol. And I do think that, I think that I'm pretty much
I'm proud of you, Carl. I tell Carl all the time how proud I am and how she's an influence on me not to drink as much as I used to. Because you see that, wow, nobody likes being hungover the next day. It's like the whole day's almost wasted, depending on how bad you feel. And then the older you get, the worse the hangover is as well. But then you look into like even just wine, all the chemicals and stuff that are in wine alone. Like my skin, after I was sick, I was telling you how I'm trying to, it's still, I have dry skin certain places, but when I drink wine, it's the sugar in it, I guess, on top of the chemicals that it will just irritate my skin and I will just itch it. I mean, I will just scratch and scratch and scratch till it almost bleeds sometimes because whatever is in it it fuels me for whatever reason, or fuels that rash. It's very, and just like, vodka and tequila. I mean, we don't really know, like all these people that went to Dominican Republic, right, and died because they had alcohol, and we can't figure out, was that poison bottle? Was it poison? Like who's like changing that? Like when my husband and I went with another couple to St. Bart's at New Year, or right after New Year, no, spring. We had two different tequilas in the freezer. One froze and one did not. Now we all know it's not supposed to freeze. So why is it freezing? Like, is there something else in it?
Yeah, for sure.
Not that St. Bart's did it, but like whoever they got the distributor from. I mean, you just have to be super careful. And it's not just food, and it's not just the drugs, it's your alcohol too. And you got to be really careful. It's sad. It's like they're trying to get us in like every little way to keep us sick. And it's like, why do they want to keep us sick all the time? Because they want to control us. Because if your vibration is low and you're miserable and you're constantly just having to work all day, and then the time you get home, you're exhausted, you don't want to fight back. You don't want to push back on the system, or even think about questioning the system like we are now.
Right, and it's like one last point, like a stat is only 11% of people who need addiction treatment get help, seek help, or get help. And like that's sad, because like I want people to know it's not just drugs and alcohol. There's like so many different things that you could be addicted to, and addiction really just takes over your life. And if you can escape it, which you can, you just have to set your mind to it that like this is not going to be my fate. And I just want to like reiterate that to everyone, is like you gotta want to do it for yourself, and like you can do it. Anyone can do it. Anyone can change their life at any moment,
at any time. You just got to do it. Would you say alcohol addiction is the worst addiction out of all the different drugs? So that show Intervention that used to come on TV all the time? And my husband and I would watch that a lot. And it's just crazy, the different drugs and how they make you look.
So I would say like probably meth, maybe.
Should be the
But
first one.
alcohol doesn't turn people into like people crawling through windows to like steal money so that they could get big, like heroin and right. Like we had a treatment, one of our counselors in there, he was like, I might look like a nice man now, but like when I was addicted to crack, I'd climb through your bedroom window and steal your lunch money just to get like
just to get it.
He's like, I robbed my grandma.
Oh,
So I think that's the worst, but I think alcohol is the worst to get away from, because
it's everywhere.
So we were talking about concert venues, how like now you go to concert venues and there's like 75 stalls and 73 of them are different kinds of alcohol. Like you'll have a margarita stall, you'll have a wine stall, you'll have a liquor stall, you'll have your IPA stall, you'll have your domestic beer stall. And then you're like, where does one get a water bottle?
Yeah, can I just get a lemonade for crying out loud? I just want a damn lemonade. Just a nice, refreshing, crisp lemonade.
Like bring your own water. BYOW.
And I don't want the water in the plastic bottle, right? I want water in a glass bottle or something. Now they're trying the aluminum, but aluminum's not as great either, apparently. I need to research more of it. But have you started seeing the water aluminum bottles?
I have.
It's like a new thing.
Everything.
Because I'm in that world. Yeah, it's interesting how, but no.
So it's like tonight we saw how the systems that like claim to heal us, they actually there's proof that they are there to keep us sick.
So today we saw how the systems that claim to heal us can actually profit off keeping us sick.
And if they're running scams this big down here, what else might be watching us, and what are they planning?
Now go and spill the tea to someone else, and we'll catch you next week on Bless Your Heart.
See you next time.